Howdy friends, how are you guys doing today? So it's what is it? It's Tuesday. I hope you guys had a great weekend, Memorial Day weekend. We had a good time. We always kind of try to focus on family and you know, veterans, and all of our family are veterans, so there you go. I haven't been doing any live videoing lately because I've been on the struggle bus, and now that I start this video, the dog starts barking. So we're gonna fix that. Come on, let's go outside. Go, be happy. So totally been on the struggle bus. Who knew that last year when I decided that I was gonna take on some big heavy lifting and personal growth, take on some childhood stuff, things that have been affecting my life for forever, and my kids. And you know, in the Bible it says that you inherit the sins of your family. Now I kind of more understand that idea, that the things that we do and how we choose to heal and deal with life filters through. And so, you know, as a human being, we have a responsibility to fix our shit, because it affects everybody else around us. You know, it causes bad habits elsewhere. Maybe you're not connecting with your kids. Maybe you're not helping a partner that you're, you know, in life, not necessarily a partner, but someone that you run into, God puts in front of you, and you're not able to, you know, kind of do the things that would help facilitate their healing as well. So, you know, it's kind of interesting, this, you know, we're in this all together, and taking care of our own stuff can be difficult. And who knew last year when I said, okay, I'm going to work on my childhood abuse stuff, and then I'm going to work on this stuff, and I'm going to work on trust stuff. And then, you know, rolling into, and it was all laid out. It was like, okay, yeah, I got this. And then pandemic, boom. And what I have learned through this pandemic thingy is that I am a social creature. I do not like being by myself, and that is just fine. It's who I am. I've done a lot of work with my my attachment style. More to come on that. It's fabulous. It's very interesting. Nice language to understand who you are, and then say you have a partner that you're struggling with, how they are. You can have two different attachment styles, and that alone wreaks havoc, and it has nothing to do personally with the relationship necessarily. Super cool stuff. Anyway, so through this pandemic, I have learned about myself that I do not do well being by myself. And so all the, you know, take space and do things for yourself and all of that stuff, you know, sometimes people just need to keep some personal growth and some opinions and some things to themselves, because sometimes we are saying these things outside of our filter of what we know, and the other person is exactly opposite. And you really kind of push away from them. They push away from you because it feels like judgment. It feels like you don't understand them. And then we get kind of rambunctious about it and say things super strong. And so then offense can be taken and whatnot. Struggle bus. And when you're on the struggle bus, sometimes we like to get off the struggle bus pretty quick because it feels uncomfortable. But, you know, we need to learn how to, and this is what I've learned also during this time, to learn and sit and really experience the struggle. We're really good at experiencing when things are happy and it's, but we really try to run, tuck tail, hide, and do a whole bunch of stuff to get out of the feeling of when we're on the struggle bus. Because it's hard and it's intense and it affects our sleep and it's scary, and we have no idea, we can't see, and it's very uncomfortable. So we work really hard to get off the struggle bus. And then sometimes we do things that don't facilitate the path that we were on to get off the struggle bus. So that's kind of where we kind of go back and forth, and we try to relearn these lessons over and over again. You know, I've fallen down the TikTok thing, and There's a lot of things on my feed right now about why are you continuing to stay and relearn those lessons, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's human nature, and we're programmed to kind of stay where it's comfortable. And this is one of the reasons why this happens, is because when it gets really tough and we're in the struggle bus and things are like, the things that we do to get out of that feeling bump us right back to the old habits. Instead of trying something new, doing something new while you're really on the struggle bus is incredibly difficult. And having a support system around that and to hold you accountable or to help give you, keep going, it's okay, keep going, it's okay. During a pandemic when you don't have that, or everybody else has their own shit and nobody's really really supporting each other, can make this all very difficult. So I've found it quite interesting that I've chosen to do this through one of the hardest times ever, and I'm like, what the shit? Could you just do easier things? Like just go do an Ironman. So I was eating bacon and cooking bacon, and then because bacon is awesome, and that's one of the things that we need to do when we're on the struggle bus, is do something that is good for you and makes you feel good. It makes you feel good and is good for you. So drinking makes us feel good for a second, but is not good for us necessarily. Barbecuing with our neighbors and listening to stories from our elders is a good thing to do. It does require you to get over your, I don't want to be around people because I'm on the struggle bus and all I want to do is say the F word over and over and over again. However, you get over into that and commune with the older folks, the ones that, really care about the younger generation and wish them to be happier and safe and stuff like that. It's wonderful. So we had this wonderful conversation. So the point is do something good that makes you feel good. That is good for you. So anyway, back to the bacon. I was cooked bacon in the air fryer. I love my air fryer. There's really a point. But in the air fryer, there's this thing that I cook the bacon, and it's this thing, right? So this side looks really awesome. Facebook, pictures. Okay. I cook my bacon. No, I don't. I cook my bacon on the rack. And this drips in there because I cook a lot of bacon at once because we eat a lot of bacon. Anyway, so this catches the bacon grease and then the dogs get some of the bacon grease. And on this side, it looks really good, right? It looks fairly clean. However, this side, not so much. And I worked 15 minutes, 20 minutes on it. I was scrubbing. So I was doing sort of a meditative practice. Something very similar to mantra that I do when I'm swimming. But I had a shit show swim the other day and I was like, oh, shit. So I found it interesting that I was scrubbing the pan and saying the same mantra that I was saying when I had a really awful swim that was, I struggle with SIPE, I struggle with heart condition, and so it was a shit show. Anyway, so I was thinking about that while I was scrubbing this, and then I started thinking about this pan is very indicative of us. It shows a lot of different things about us right now. Where we present this front is clean. It looks fairly good. It looks like I took care of it, right? Well, and I did take care of it. But this side, I haven't been investing in clearly, right? I don't see it. I don't use it often, but it is in use. Like I don't touch it, but it's there and it's part of the thing, right? And you could get by with friends coming over and them not seeing that side, so it's like we don't work on it. But it's there, and eventually it gets sticky. I started scrubbing it just because I have a little bit of OCD and I wanted it clean. But I started thinking about this side of the pan on personal growth and how we can tend to not work on things because we don't necessarily see it, but it is there and it is affecting us, right? I think the reason why I started scrubbing it and I was like, oh, that needs to go is because I was touching it and I was getting stuff on my hands and then it was getting on the counter on a clean plate that I had already cleaned. So, meaning I had ignored it for long enough that I was starting to get crap on other things. Or, you know, and that was kind of the point of this, is our personal growth. And sometimes our stuff, we ignore it long enough, and then we start affecting other people's lives, either intentionally, unintentionally, or this idea that God puts people in front of us, even strangers, and if you're not present enough and you're not doing your own stuff and you're not in that place where you should be, where there's not really a should be, but you know, if there's an angry lady and she's yelling at the barista person, and instead you respond angry to her because you're not taking care of your own shit, instead of asking her if there's something that you can do to help. That's what I'm talking about. So anyway, the backside of my pan was getting shitty. And so I got to thinking about that is in terms of personal growth. You know, number one, we ignore it. We ignore it until we can't. And then it's more painful. It's a lot more work to clean it now. I mean, I was scrubbing on it for 15 minutes, a lot more work. And then the other thing that I was thinking of was that, you know, if you had the right tools and you had practiced the right tools or gotten the right tools, were a little bit proactive on getting the right tools, cleaning of that stuff is a little bit easier. So, you know, the same as personal growth. If you have a regular prayer practice, it becomes easier to get yourself out of a struggle. Okay, if you do other things, if you work on your relationships and have a person that you can go to, because, you know, you can't expect people to be there for you if you're not there for them. And so what tools do you have? You know, and Dawn dish soap is admittedly probably the best thing to work on grease, right? So having some of that stuff is really important. But what else do you need? This was okay. And a new one too, right? Because the old one gets kind of ucky and has grease and stuff on it. So the tools that you get, sometimes you need to have more tools. You need to try different tools. I was sitting there thinking as I was scrubbing that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be so easy if I had like an SOS pad, right? Duh. Kind of abrasive, something that I usually don't get because I don't like how it feels, and I don't, you know, it's just bad for the environment, for my own personal opinion, because it's like you use it once and then you throw it away and stuff like that. So tools, though, are really important when you're going to clean your pan or personal growth stuff. But you got to use it, right? You got to go out and get it, or you got to practice it and stuff like that. So I had made a list in the beginning of this month of the things that I was going to do to cultivate, manifest this. Calm as fuck. Strong as well. Put those two things together, very balanced out. And so there was, you know, a list of things that I'm supposed to be doing. So when you're on the struggle bus, you know, you don't have to be so type A and engineering wise to fix it, to make that long list, because sometimes if you don't do all the things, then that gets kind of like, but even if you do just some of the things, but you have the long list, we need to be like, okay, I'm just doing the best that I can. So for me on that list was like, I have been taking a break from racing, and I just might do that the entire year because I've been working on enough and I'm tired. My shit show swim the other day let me know that my emotional state and my emotional strength is not where it needs to be, and that affects my heart and my ability to stay calm in the water. And being that I'm not a fish and I don't have gills and I get swim-induced pulmonary edema easy, I'm, you know, debating if it's healthy to push myself the way I used to. So I'm taking a step back and rebuilding some heart-related health and balance. I found some really good articles from Grandma's house yesterday that I stole her magazine that directly talks to this. So thank you, God, I am listening. Thanks for the articles, and it's really fascinating how stuff like that happens, right? You're like, oh, shit show swim because I was wanting to cry in the water, and it was awful because it's just too much stuff going on right now. So what do? I turned and I was like, okay, well, we've been working on the porch. We've been working on plants and flowers and gardening, and I love that stuff. So that's what I have been doing to help myself feel good and is good for me. and drinking lots of water and doing lots of cleansing things and trying to draw more and paint more and shifting a little bit to be more creative. So if you're on the struggle bus, sometimes we need to not focus on the things that are wrong. We need to shift and crowd in other good stuff, because it's just smart to do that. There's so many different aspects, and we get so tied up in fixing and just fixing that one thing, where sometimes if you go and you just like chillax and relax about the shit show swim and just go do some strength training on the swim stuff that you know you can do, and then go do some gardening and go get, you know, tan and spend some time outside and do some journaling and some breathing and get your heart related stuff back in control. So if you're on the struggle bus, yeah, reach out to somebody. Though I'll say, admittedly, that's kind of hard sometimes, because sometimes, like right now, everybody's got their own shit. And it just seems like, you know, don't be disheartened when you reach out and you don't get what you need. That means you just need to go find other places and keep reaching out. And then, you know, ask yourself, is that telling you that you need to be a little bit stronger and pull up your big girl panties? Or do you need to find somebody else? It's a very blurry, thin line, right? Grace and grit. How much do you need to like pull yourself up? But then how much do you need to give yourself, okay, don't judge yourself, give yourself grace, but where do I need that help? And anyway, everybody's human, and it's just tough. So, I think the lesson of the day, freaking clean the backside of your bacon pan regularly. Take care of your shit regularly. Invest in your heart health and your emotional health and the stuff that you have going on regularly, so stuff doesn't pile up and it's harder to work through. Anyway, have a great day, people. Namaste.